So how do you as an individual deal with rage and frustration when it comes to playing Tekken 7? What's up, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Chicago Green Arcade Podcast. I am your host today, Chitowns Deuce, and not only am I going to be discussing this topic with you all, but also joining me here today, for those of you who might know him, the best Fang player in Chicago, or America you might say, also a Chicago Green Arcade member, a player who's made several top 8s in tournaments, and who recently just attended a Michigan offline tournament and placed first place. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to go ahead and welcome back to the show the man known as Dilet. Welcome back, Dilet. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me yet again.
Well, of course, here we are with another episode going on to number 4. Now, this is definitely a topic that I've been wanting to go ahead and discuss because I think it's been on a lot of people's mind. How can you be so calm when it comes to playing Tekken 7? It is quite hard. My advice is you want to stay composed at all times. Anytime you feel that you're getting a bit angry or frustrated, just try to get off the game. Take a breather, stay off it, calm yourself down, go do something. Because the more you keep playing this game while you're frustrated, I can guarantee you're not going to keep winning. The frustration might get in the way of like a little motivator to keep you pushing and trying to be a better player. Because that's how it ends up being. But as far as trying to stay, with that emotion and playing this game, it doesn't intend to do you too good. It's actually more of a downfall than an upper, obviously. And, there's been times where people feel like sometimes they want to drop their character or they don't want to play the game anymore. Or they intend to just take a break for like a couple weeks or so. And that's normal because we're all human beings. We all go through emotions. And then again, we're playing this game for a reason, whether we love it or we're competitors in it. It's just very important to have a strong mindset when playing this game and not to get too flustered in your emotions when it comes to frustration, whether you're tilted. And now other individuals deal with, say they lose 2 or 3 matches and they're automatically angry. Then, sometimes you have your other individuals that'll probably message the player, and you got other ones that get too angry and they get personal. Now, you never want to head towards those routes because in the end, it's not going to make you look well. And now we're already at an era where anything that you say or do can easily get screenshotted, put on social media, you're exposed. And there's nothing you can really say, but it just makes you look more of like a clown in a way because you have all this frustration and you're taking the time out of your night or day to basically message the other player. Now that's fine if it's within the game, but if it's personal, then that's something you definitely have to work on because that's not the route to go and it's not good as a human being. Always remember, if you're playing this game and you get angry at the individual who you're playing or whatever, whether they're trying to spam you or you look at them as a scrub and you shouldn't have lost, never take it to a personal level. As far as my thoughts go for anger and how to calm yourself, what are your thoughts, Dilet? What do you think you have to say and how it is that an individual deals with anger when it comes to playing Tekken 7?
The first thing before I get to my point is how you're saying earlier, people manage their salt and anger in different ways, but the most important thing players have to understand, I have to understand, I still fall victim to it. We're all human. We play this game a lot. A lot of people put in thousands of hours playing.
That is correct.
And we're very passionate with the game. So I myself, now I'm about to make my points, but I just want to make a disclaimer. I do get salty. I do get tilted. And a lot of it is just, I hate to say, oh, well, it's online or things of that nature. But
we hear, not to cut you off, but we hear that excuse, especially from a lot of streamers. Oh, it's online this, it's online that, which we're going to go ahead and discuss shortly here about offline and online via Tekken. But as far as that as an excuse, that's one that's majorly used as far as like Twitch streamers and whatnot.
Yeah, and I fall victim to it as well. But as far as managing salt and anger, what I try to do best, if I'm in a position where I'm frustrated or flustered or pissed, I might take a step back and I won't rematch. If I get like tilted and I'm upset, and as people want to make it seem like, oh well, hey, he's upset that he lost, he's out. My thing is, I don't play my best Tekken when I'm salty or tilted. That's part of a reason why I recently stopped doing as much online tournaments, and particularly tournaments such as ICFC. Now don't get me wrong, these are tournaments that have great production. These are awesome tournaments, but just playing someone who's on a different coast or a region that's far from you, it kind of just takes away from the game. It doesn't really feel legitimate, and I'm not taking away from anything, but as we all know, we recently saw East Coast versus West Coast. exhibition match. These were
And
solid
usually the majority
matches.
you can say were like 4 bars. They weren't even consistent 5 despite the update.
And no matter what people say, whether you're a top player like, Anakin, Cuddlecore, Joey, or whoever you want to think of as a top player, everyone is human. We all get upset. But just to manage that, I try to, like I said, I try to take a step back. I won't even go and lab what's making me tilted because, again, just taking that step back and maybe I'm done for today. And that just helps me come back and regroup later. Because like I said, if I get tilted, I'm just going to perform worse and worse. And, I'll say F it and I'm done for today. And like I said, if you just go back in the lab and correct it, but it's not going to help you from continuously being salty. So what I do is I just say, hey, I had my little run and I've been playing a lot less online Tekken. That's been helping me. As you're saying.
Because online, and everyone knows it, online is definitely frustrating. Now, I know I said earlier that a lot of Twitch streamers do say that, but some of them don't even complete offline as much as others. But in the end, there's such a huge difference as far as gameplay, even on the mindset of people when it comes to offline versus online.
Yeah, and won't name any names, but when I play players and sometimes I could be up in the game and it'll be like a massive spike where the game is just about ready to sink and give out. That kind of, to me, it throws all my momentum out. I could be up 2 rounds a zip, I can be down. And for me, I just I don't play through it. I'll just completely shut off and I don't even want to deal with you or play with you anymore. And it's not me being upset at the individual personally. People like to screenshot or,
That's what a lot of people intend to do nowadays. It's kind of ridiculous, but that's where we're at in this era.
People try to, and I'm the type of person, if I have connection issues with you, if it's not playable, I will at least give you the, hey, heads up, I don't necessarily want to keep playing because it's just not the best suited environment for both of us to play. Whether you take that as salt or rage, I'm at least we'll do that. And whether a lot of times people are like, oh, you weren't saying that when you're winning and things of that nature. And for me, it's not even, we're playing online and ranked. And I've already gotten the experience I want. To me, it's not even about ranked. It's just about playing and keeping yourself warmed up. And, a lot of times, I can name a situation that happened to me last week where I played a 2D player. Now, this player is a very nice player. I think he's from the Tennessee area. He's from the East Coast. And, he was hitting me with things that were very hard to deal with. It was an Eliza player. And as we know, and I was telling him, I know this character is not good on paper. However, you're doing moves and maneuvers that are just very hard and frustrating to deal with, especially online where instabilities will prevent you from stepping correctly or doing the right reads. And he was telling me, I'm not necessarily complaining about it. You're the one complaining about it. And I'm just yeah, I'm complaining about it.
Even if by messaging the other player, they're going to go ahead, take that into salt, and then they think it's hilarious. And what do from there on? They screenshot the conversation. And
they might post you on Twitter. They might
then
put
you're
you
on scrub quotes.
They might do all these things. But what I try to do is, at least when I express my frustration, I at least try to find a common ground. It's yeah, I'm not upset at you personally or whatnot. But I'm just this is hard to deal with. And now this player, I'm not going to name who it was. They're saying,
we don't do that here.
This character isn't good. They don't have Tekken moves, things of that nature. And top level players don't have a problem with this character. Now, this character, somebody was playing this character named Junya, and they just won ICFC. And you can't tell me that he beat up on Ben Chang, all these top level players. Don't matter who you are, this could be something that's hard to deal with online. And maybe not just online, it could be offline, but it's frustrating to deal with. And just like I said, the end of that conversation, it was hey, look, I'm not upset at you personally or anything. I'm just going to take my break for today because I'm tilted to the point where I can't overcome this battle today. I got to go back and regroup and just pretty much just practice and get better.
And that's a huge reminder to you all. Always try to regroup yourselves to have a better mindset. The more clear your mindset is, the better you will perform, whether it's offline or online. You need to get that through your heads. Now, like I said, anger is frustration is hard to deal with when it comes to this game, but we're all human beings, as I stated earlier, and we all deal with it.
And then with that, it got to the point where he at least understood what I was saying. I was hey, man, we could go all day about what's good on paper and what's not. And he was I consider you a top level player. And now I might disagree with that, but in his mind, he felt, okay, I was a top level player, yada, yada. And I'm just hey, man, I'm still a human. It's hard to deal with, especially in an online setting, and it was all, good games and that. Like he was telling me, hey, I love playing you. It motivates me to get better and things of that nature. And I just, once I regrouped and took a step back, I realized that, yeah, I expressed my anger and frustration, but we found that common ground, and,
there was never a
no
problem
beef.
bigger than that.
Yeah, I mean, I might have said some things that were like salty or anger that he could have easily went and hey, look at this guy. This guy's supposed to be a good player, and he's like rage, and he can fish for his likes and whatnot. You know,
and that's how
that's
how sometimes if you don't know the player behind gamer tag or whatever, that's how little beefs start, and that's how you start disliking each other. Oh, F that guy because he did this and that, or he plays a certain style, he's not good, or it's always leads to something like that. But in the end, would you honestly think you'll have that same type of energy when you see that person offline as well? I don't
think so at all. I think at the end of the day, you just want to play.
Exactly. And we're all there for the game. We're all there to get better. We all travel for a reason. And we are all there to have a great time. And we've all witnessed, the majority of us nowadays, have all witnessed these majors, these offline events. And all have had a great time.
I actually could give you even another story. What happened to me yesterday? How you mentioned, I did win a tournament yesterday.
Yes.
There was a player that in the past, I've expressed my anger and frustration, and
this player was in the bracket.
And this player, I played him offline in the bracket, and pretty much just to give a backstory, it got to the point where he was reporting some of the things and my frustration to his buddies, and his buddies. And
this was from the past, I believe, correct?
Correct. Okay. And we settled these differences because I guess I entered a random 1st to 10 series in the Michigan, if you guys know High, he does really well with that and promotes his team. But anyway, he paired me up with this player because of this alleged said beef that happened. And in reality, all I did was like say, hey man, that was really tough to deal with. I think this character is really hard to deal with, and I might have came off across as salty. He's like, man, this is definitely some scrub quote material, yada yada, and this turned into some online beef or whatever. And we settled. I played the 1st to 10. It doesn't matter what the score was. Now I won. I'll be honest. I won.
You did quite well. You did that quite well. Come on, I'll applaud the man.
It was 10-1. Like it was 10-1. But that doesn't matter.
That's a huge comeback.
But the reason why I say this is that I even played this guy offline, and there was no animosity or whatnot.
Exactly. There was no anger. There was no frustration within you and him.
And he sent me to losers. He beat me 2-0, and even then, he could have easily said, oh, this is offline now. This isn't online, but it was, good games offline. I wasn't upset or anything. I was in losers, so I had to take a step back. I went over to the couch area and regrouped. I went out to my car and, did what I do best. And I'm like, hey, you know what?
Regrouped yourself, and now you're more calm.
And I end up making my run all the way back to winners, or I reset it in grand finals and I won 6-0. But if I had been...
And that goes to show how composed you were of your mindset afterwards. After you took your breather, you were more calm. You took the frustration off because you played, quite bad in the very beginning. Yeah, you composed yourself, and then look at that. You came back, right? And all because you had that clear mindset.
Yeah, and you guys were even able to see it in my gameplay. I was just playing a lot more composed. Now, I had to switch to my main character this time, but I was a lot more relaxed, and I knew what to expect, and it wasn't like, man, I can't lose. If I lose, I'm going to be... I'm like, no, I just need to take a step back, and... yeah, I got sent to losers, but I got one more chance if I want to win this tournament, and I end up resetting. The grand finals, I had won 3-0, and then I reset, then I 3-0'd again, but I could have easily been just salty about it and just said, oh, F this guy, and just played like shit.
And this is offline, by the way. Now, we talked about online. This is offline. Okay, now I'm going to tell you my experience, but this is from a friend of mine, okay? Now, he didn't do too well in his bracket, right? He had an arcade stick. He was truly frustrated with himself. And what do you think he does, guys? Well, he decides to go outside, and then after he goes outside, he decides to basically throw his arcade stick on the floor, and it basically breaks. Like, legit, you could say snapped in two. And I was trying to calm him down, but that's my whole thing. When you let your anger or your frustration consume you, you do things that you don't usually do. Or then again, you could regret. And he did regret by doing that because he destroyed his arcade stick. You can't
get that arcade stick back.
And you basically threw money down the drain for no apparent reason, all because you gave in to your emotions. At the same time, guys,
And we've all been there.
Yeah, we've all been there, but never let it consume you to that point, whether you're trying to punch a hole in the wall or somebody tells you need therapy.
Yeah.
Just take it to the point where take a breather, always try to have that strong mindset and take a step back. And this could go from anything, whether it's not just a video game itself, but anything in life. Always try to have that great, clear mindset. It'll lead you good in the long run. Don't lead yourself downhill.
So we mentioned some things about what happens like when you're dealing with it and just like frustration. So I think another reason why that spans, kind of going back into it, I think when we're at home and we're not necessarily in public, it's easier for us to show our raw emotions and that we're not going to contain it. I just think it's easier to sit at home and, F this guy. This guy's a bitch.
It happens all the time.
And I just think it's so much easier to do at home because you're not going to look like a jackass in front of like 50.
Yeah, whether you're doing it offline or whether you're trying to act like that in stream. It's just you don't see that anymore nowadays.
And that's another thing. I mean, you stream, I've streamed sometimes in the past. People know when you're tilted. They could see it in your play. And a lot of times people, when you beat them, they get tilted themselves. So they might come into your stream and try to get a reaction.
Oh, yeah.
It happens with everybody. You can tell when you're playing, when someone's playing frustrated. You might hit them with something that might have been a little people would consider bullshit. We all have our bullshit setups that we like to go to. And you could tell how when people respond to it, they might be pissed because now their gameplay shows they might have just went away from their game plan. And now I got to get my get back. I got to get them back with some bullshit and it might not work. And now it's like they're even more tilted and they might quit. They might run
or sometimes
forward.
Within their game plan, they'll try to like tilt you on purpose. Like, say key charge or just keep doing the same thing over and over.
Exactly.
There's stuff like that, and that's what people do, especially online, because, again, you can get away with it. You won't really see stuff like that offline because you're playing the person right next to each other.
Now, I kind of had a question for you, and I can answer it myself. What characters specifically for you get you the most frustrated, and why?
That's actually this channel. I play Eddie, and I main Chloe as well. Both characters. Now, as far as dealing with certain characters that frustrate me, I would have to say, and everyone knows it by now, 2Ds. 2Ds frustrate the crap out of me in this game. And I would have to say probably just the guest characters in general, whether it's Noctis, Negan, your typical Geese, Akuma, Eliza. I just feel those tools, whether I'm Eddie and I'm in Relax, I feel that, sometimes the meter. Now, obviously they have to gain the meter to do anything with it. But the factor is, 2Ds in this game, I feel that they just have more tools and they can get away with so much more compared to an actual Tekken character. So you're most likely somewhat outclassed.
Have meter. There's no way, even if you're outplaying them, they will eventually have those.
And that's what creates my frustration facing those characters because, yeah, I've studied them, but everyone knows I do not like going against them. Another character that probably frustrates me, I was going to say Leroy, but I did tone him down a bit.
That's understandable.
Who do you think would be next on the list that we both can agree on? Now let's look at that roster now. Take a moment here.
Me personally, and I got a whole bunch of characters, but I think Julia's one.
What about Seasons 4's Lydia?
Okay, so again, I didn't want to go too much into my question yet, but Lydia, and it's not Lydia because I appreciate her. I think she's a great character, great aesthetics. She's not like just some generic typical bikini wearing female in the game who is super evasive, glides across the screen, has like some AO, like she's a very well designed character. But when she first came out, just like majority of the characters for me who come out, like whether it's week 1, day 1, those tilt me the most because people are still formulating what's good and they don't necessarily do the key moves. They like to gravitate towards the strings. That
reminds me of like when Chloe first landed on platform.
Yeah.
And then they were just like doing so much the randomest crap with her and getting away with it.
People like to gravitate to what's new because what's new is always going to be a problem. I mean, people were saying Shaheen was a problem when he first dropped. Now, Shaheen was a lot stronger, I believe, 4-1, jailed. Like, he had his issues, but we take a step back and then look at a character like Shaheen. He's like the king of generic moves, but back then it still was new to us. So I think
the DLC for me, it's definitely one of the tilts.
Generally speaking for the community, it's well known that DLC characters are very good in the tools that they have. The developers have done a nice job, and making sure whatever their strengths are apparent. And in doing so, you kind of you can get lost in saying, well, hey, what is their weakness? Leroy was a nightmare when he came out. Fakaram to me is still a nightmare, not because
so many
he's
people
strong.
got pissed off playing that character.
He's got long range,
so many.
But I can look back at the top row and I can say, a lot of these characters are pretty hard to deal with, and they can get you frustrating because with the developers, and at least how I look at it, they're not going to spend the money and extra outside resources and put a character in the game that's not going to be good. Now, Negan wasn't necessarily good on release, but they made a good job of making sure that he's been a lot better. Julia, Ganryu,
the returning
Marduk,
old characters definitely just feel like
they
their
feel
tools are great.
up, yeah.
But they feel good to use.
And, but at least going back to the question, the main characters, and we're going to get off DLC because I know people play DLCs and they don't like it when we talk about these characters. But for me, the most characters playing online that get me tilted would probably be Elisa, Xiao Yu because of their evasion, Zafina because of their evasion.
Oh,
and how
definitely. I mean, I use Zafina myself, but definitely agree with you with Zafina as well.
But beyond that, I do still get tilted when I play specifically Marduk's, King, and
the grapplers.
And
oh man,
Armor
they're
King.
a nightmare online. That's for sure.
They are a nightmare now. Yes, the game has made it easier to break throws, but I'm gonna take it a step further, and it's not just the throws. It's the Oki, the opportunity, the benefits that you have from landing this throw that, people are like, hey, it's easy to break. And I disagree, because when we're dealing with online, that window it just feels a little different because there might be instability. It just, even if it's good connection, it's still online. But like I said, beyond that, Marduk, if he grabs you and does what he has to do and plays to his strengths, he gets all different types of, you got to guess on different like grounded throws, and you got to watch how you wake up when he hits you with certain moves. I think it's the characters that have advanced options with Oki. To me, that frustrates me the most because it makes me, well, what do I do? Sometimes in certain Marduk hits you with that armor move or that power crush, and you stand straight up, you're right in range for him to get a free down for one. So you're like, okay, well, I'm just going to stay on the ground. And if you stay on the ground with Marduk, and you got to guess, and if you guess wrong, you can get another combo, which can take you to the wall and reset it. So you can see how
stuff like that will tilt anyone.
If you're already tilted playing online, that can make it even worse. I mean, I'll be honest, I stopped playing long sets with characters like that. And
and I do the same as well. Like, say online, right? If I come across you, whether it's in rank or quick match, the most you'll get from me is probably 2 to 3 games. But I'm not going to continue playing you, especially if it's a match that I don't truly enjoy. Now, that's different compared to if I'm actually learning the matchup.
Yeah.
Now, you could play like doing a down forward 1, you're being negative, and you're going to still try to do a down forward 1 when you're not plus. And, when I see crap like that, it's like, all right, well, now I know how you play.
And I feel like, to not necessarily make excuse, but these characters have been in the game for a while. And it's like, well, if they've been in the game for a while, yes, we have the opportunity to learn and lab. And even in doing so, you still can get hit and get grabbed and have to guess right on some of these mix-ups. And for me, it's like, a lot of characters in the game that are non-grapplers don't necessarily reap the benefits of having this well-oiled machine Oki game, and I think that's what also makes it a little frustrating to play, especially in a game that does have nerf movement, and that I just think that really can make someone feel tilted. There's a reason why a lot of Marduks have higher ranks, and a lot of DLC characters, and Lydia's and Kunimitsu's in week 1, you see so many Tekken gods, and it's not that rank matters, it just lets you know that it's a lot easier to have success playing online in an environment when you're playing a character that's either fresh or brand new, or that reaps the benefits of having all these additional options. And that course, just makes it a nightmare for us as
going into that. I remember using Kunimitsu like within the first week, and I was facing this guy in ranked. He lost 5-0, and of course course, he comes into my stream, frustrated and salty, of course, and starts trying to curse me out and says, keep using DLC. And of course, there's a curse word in the end there. Now, that goes to show that, okay, in the end, it's the character. You still got to study. It just came out. It's understandable. There's still a lot of tools that people don't know what's coming because the character just came out. I'll give that within a month or so, and you're not really going to see the stuff that I can usually get away with within my first week of using that character. And a lot of people don't intend to see it that way because they're so frustrated and caught up on their emotions that they try to curse a player out instead of actually understanding that, hey, this is a new character that just came out. Just like Lydia, for example. I kept getting my ass beat by her, and did I get tilted and frustrated? I did, because obviously I didn't know what to expect. In the end, it's still my fault because I didn't lab the character right off the bat. I just went with the flow as I fought the character and learned as I went. But I didn't get too caught up in my emotions because I used it more of a learning experience when I was facing this character. And I don't think a lot of people intend to do that because they get too caught up in their emotions. And this can go even to newer players or veteran players.
Yeah, and I'm just how you mentioned Lydia. I mean, the first thing I did was lab strings to see what I can duck and what I could whiff punish and what they like to do. And 3-2, for example, which is that high string, you could duck and try to whiff punish properly and launch. And because she was recovering so fast, it's like, well, I just died because I thought I did the right move, especially in Tekken 7. The developers see the community's frustration, and a lot of that reflects the patch notes. And I will give Namco credit, even though us as consumers always like to complain and say, hey, they should do this and do that. They have done a pretty good job about addressing the immediate issues. How I look at it, there are reasons why a character like Eliza cannot be strong on paper because, and this is actually what I was explaining to that player that I mentioned earlier when we were talking about, me just venting my frustrations, and he was saying she doesn't have good Tekken moves, but anyway, it's just certain things like her EX where she dives and like goes the full length of the screen after jumping, and she's safe and you can step it, but it's hard to do, and just things of that nature. But what I'm getting at is that Harada has even stated in the past, well, if we buff this character who so many players in the community have already been expressing their frustration about, then that's not balanced. The balance in her having bad Tekken moves and things of that nature is that she still can. How many times have you as players been resetted on the wall because you've missed that quick -13 low into that EX?
I can, second this because it's happened to me offline with Eliza players, and I have actually lost to a couple Eliza players offline, to be honest, whether I'm using Eddie or Chloe or any other character, as a matter of fact. It's just that matchup for me is hard, and it's kind of frustrating. Now, I'm not going to be the one to actually show that I'm frustrated and angry or any type of emotion offline, because in the end, how would that make me look as a player? Don't get caught in the mix.
And I feel like even as a community, we like to gravitate towards negativity when someone's feeling tilted.
Oh, they automatically they want to share it for their entertainment, and there's
I'll
more
give you
BS
an
right
example.
there.
If we're offline and someone doesn't even have to be tilted, they might accidentally drop their pad or their equipment, and the first thing everybody does in the venue is they turn around real quick and look like, did someone rage or whatnot, when in reality that guy might have just accidentally dropped his stuff. And we want to see what's going on. When you go to a local and a game is hype and people are cheering, what do? You automatically turn your head. You want to see what's going on. It's not good, but we do thrive off of passionate players, whether they're excited, whether they're tilted. And that, I just think that, again, it just goes along into why it's good to just manage your salt or things of that nature, because people don't even know if you're upset or not. They just want people thrive off of getting reactions or seeing reactions off of people.
It's like their entertainment, if you will.
Exactly. People just want to be entertained, whether it's positive or negative. If it's super positive, people are going to be drawn to it. If it's super negative, people are going to be drawn to it, and they're going to add their 2 cents in. And again, as I was saying earlier, we are all human, and the good thing to do is to manage this thing and to just be better and realize that, hey, we are passionate about this game. We wouldn't even be making this podcast now if we didn't like the game. All these different things. I wouldn't have traveled to Michigan if I didn't like the game, and
even then, like you stated earlier, you did bad in the first run, but you still, as a human human being, composed yourself, cleared your mindset, and even from there on, you did good for this game. Like, you've overcome those emotions, won first place, you've won Quanba Arcade Stick.
Shout out to Rolly Gazy and the Michigan Lansing community. I did win a Quamba Pearl, so shout out to them.
Quamba Pearl, ladies and gentlemen. You hear it from the man himself.
Not even a
Violet.
stick player, but I'm now motivated to learn stick.
So this man has a hitbox and now he has an arcade stick. So that right there, guys, like, it goes to show, like, overcome yourself and you can always do better. Always keep that in mind. Any last words, Violet, before we end the show here?
No, I think that's really it. We touched on a lot of subjects. We even got to talk a little bit about offline. We obviously had a lot of good points when coming with dealing with frustration. I thought at least now you guys know personally what characters make us frustrated. And I think as players, it's okay to share that. Like, I have no problem.
Yeah, because you don't want to be just another salty player out there and then you're going to try to bash at the individual that's using that character or whatnot. You don't want to be known as one of those.
And lastly, what I actually forgot to mention, I was talking to some players yesterday about this. I do play Fang. Playing against Fang, it just dawned to me that I get tilted playing against my own character. And I think I laugh at it and I just think I play so well with him and I might play against somebody and I know how to beat my character, but it's like, hey, down back 3 is annoying to deal with and that's okay. But it's just, I think we had a lot of good points and good talking points and I had real fun having this. So thanks for having me.
I appreciate that, darling. And as always, ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate you all for actually taking the time out of your day to even listen to this podcast. And I once again appreciate you, Darla, for actually coming by and doing this podcast again. Well, another one, I should say. And of course, there will be more. I want to go ahead and apologize to you guys because I know it's been a long time since I've put any type of content for you out there. Work has been kind of in the way. But then again, if you're busy in life, you got to take care of your things. And that's just how it is. But as always, Chitowns is always here, still alive, still playing Tekken. And I will see every single one of yous on the next episode. This is Chitowns Deuce, ladies and gentlemen, and Violet signing out.